back to another Iron Faith Wrestling Instructional. Today we're gonna be going over the tilt series. We're gonna go over roll through tilt, armbar tilt, and 2-on-1 or cheap tilt. The first thing we're gonna get into is how to get the wrist. The first way I like to get the wrist is with an arm chop. So my partner is down. Now the key with the arm chop is not chopping the arm to the stomach. It's actually bringing the lower body over top of the arm. Let's turn sideways. So right now, you can see the hands are in front of the shoulders. It's very hard to chop an arm like that. But if I can lift his hips up over top of the arm, keep going more, right when his shoulder goes over top of his hand, it's very easy to pull the arm into the stomach. So when we're doing our arm chop, right hand's got a tight waist. I'm gonna be driving off my legs and lifting his hips over that arm. So I'm here, tight waist, I'm pushing off my right leg and I'm driving his hips over top. Once my right leg has been extended like this, I'll step it in again and drive again as I continue to pull the arm in and collect the wrist, just like this. Let's turn this way. Let's just go forwards, actually, probably the easiest. So I'm here. I can have my head down here as well. Spencer Lee likes to put his head down here because he'll go to a head lever. Your head can be on top as well. But I'm here, tight waist, driving his hips up. Stepping my right leg forward again, driving again until I can pull that arm across and collect it just like that. Now, the next way I can get the arm is by doing a head lever. So when I go to chop, most people are gonna resist the chop with their body. So they're gonna resist. As they resist, I'm gonna bring my head down to behind his tricep, just like this. As I continue to chop though, if I go too early to the head lever, they're gonna know what's happening and they're going to make the adjustment they need to. So I need to be sneaky with how I get the head lever. So my head's kind of down like this, I'm trying to go chop. My left hand that's on the elbow is gonna drop to the hand. My head's gonna drop behind the tricep, and I'm gonna drive into his armpit / tricep as I pull the arm in. Once I pull the arm in, I can reach my right arm across underneath his stomach, grab the wrist, and pull it in. Again, I'm here. I'm trying to chop. It's not really working. He's resisting. His arm is getting extended out this way. My left hand slides down to the wrist. My head drops behind the armpit and tricep. I drive in and I pull the arm in. Once I'm here, I can feed it across to the other hand and get my 2-on-1 position. Let's turn this way. I'm trying to drive, my head's down here. I quickly go to here. Drive in as I pull the arm back, and then I feed it across to here. Now, the defense to the head lever is kind of dropping your elbow down and turning your tricep down like this. So if I'm wrestling here, a lot of times this tricep is kind of dropped down and it's hard to get the head lever. So what you'll see, go back, is I can push his tricep out. So if I'm wrestling here, maybe I'm going chop, I'm gonna take my left hand, go behind the tricep and push it forwards to make his tricep exposed right here, to make the head lever a little easier. So say I'm chopping here and I wanna make this head lever a little easier. My left hand goes back, I push the arm forwards, then drop to the head lever position where I can drive forwards, push the arm across, collect my 2-on-1. Show you guys that one again. So I'm going here. I wanna go head lever, but I'm gonna push his arm rotated upwards, drop my head behind the tricep, hand goes down to the wrist as I drive forwards and collect it across. Now, this position works great when they're flat as well, so go flat in your stomach. Yep. So say I'm here wrestling on top. As he starts to build up, I can work that kind of pushing up motion here. So as I'm here trying to keep him flat, right here I might not be able to head lever because he can just drop his elbow down. But if I push his arm up as he's trying to build up, then I can get that head lever, pull it here. Now, if he's flat, I really got to hop sides and dig my arm underneath to feed it. because they're not gonna want me to feed it, so he's gonna keep his hand close to his hip. I've gotta reach in, collect it, and then get the wrist, okay? Show that again from flat, hands out. You know, I'm trying to chop here. I push that tricep up, head goes to the behind the arm, hand goes behind the wrist. I drive in as I pull the arm across. Now if I wanna get the wrist, I'm just gonna reach across with my right hand, grab the wrist, and pull it in just like that. Now, another thing that I'll do, if I'm going for a head lever on my base, they will drop their elbow. So if I'm wrestling here, I go chop, it's not working. I go head lever and he drops his elbow down. What I do from here is my left hand switches to a spiral and my right hand that's on the tight waist, if you guys can see here, switches to a spiral. My left hand switches from, you know, the fingers being over top to the fingers being on the outside. So instead of being on the inside, I switch to the outside. And then I push the hands into the hip as I rotate his body in a circle and feed it. So I'll show you guys that one again. All right, I'm trying to chop. I try to head lever. My fingers are like this. I switch to here as my hand on the stomach goes to spiral. And I'm really lifting his lower body in a circle around, driving off my right leg, rotating him around. Then I can feed the arm in and get my 2-on-1. One more time with that. I can rotate this way on it. So I'm trying to chop. I try to head lever, finger switch from here to here. Right hand switches from tight waist to spiral. And I'm driving off this right leg and driving him over top of that hand in a circle. Then I can feed it and get my 2-on-1. Now, another way we can get the 2-on-1 is with a spiral. My favorite way to spiral, left hand is on the shoulder, right hand is on the inside of the leg. I'm going to pull down on the shoulder and up on the leg. So I'm trying to go like this, pull down on the shoulder and up on the leg. See how his leg's in the air like that? Exactly what I'm looking for. Right when his elbow hits the mat, my left hand, this hand right here, turns down and collects the wrist. Then I get my 2-on-1. Let's turn a different angle. Left hand's on the shoulder, right arm's on the hamstring. I'm going in a circular motion. So I'm driving the shoulder down and lifting the leg up like this. Here, his elbow hits, my left hand turns down, collects the wrist, and I've got my 2-on-1. Now, another way we can get the wrist is if we bait them with a claw. So a lot of times if I'm riding a claw, so claw is instead of on the shoulder, I'm underneath, I'm gonna reach across to the neck. A lot of times people are gonna peel this hand off. If they peel it off, I'm just gonna feed it to my other wrist. So as he peels it off, my other hand's coming in, feeding it, pulling that arm out, and now I've got the 2-on-1. That's why when you're on bottom, it's very important not to fight hand control pretty much, or at least be very aware that when you fight for hand control, they can re-wrist you. So keep your body up. So if I'm here, he peels, I would just feed it to my opposite hand, come here. If he peels my tight waist, I would reach in, collect that one. If he peels this one, I reach in, I collect. So people who tilt love when you try to attack their wrist because they're just gonna re-wrist you. Last way I like to get the wrist, I saw Seth Gross do this, very unique way to get it, but say his hands are more out and I'm wrestling here, okay, in my spiral position. My hand's gonna come out and grab all 4 fingers. My knee is gonna go on top of his elbow. It is very weird because I'm coming out in front of him, but because I have a spiral, I'm not as in danger to fall off the top of him. So I'm here, riding a spiral, his arm's up, I go fingers, I start pulling in and I bring my knee on the elbow. Once his elbow is down, I feed this in, okay? One more time. Because if he's here, sometimes it's too, don't let me pull your arm in. Sometimes it's too hard, but watch. I gotta be careful when I do it with my partner, but I drop my elbow down, now it can rotate in a lot easier, and I can get behind. I've seen him do it with a Western hook as well, so if you have a Western hook in, that's even less dangerous, because if I come out very far, the Western hook allows me to be anchored behind him. So if I'm here and I'm having trouble getting the wrist, grab all 4 fingers, pull them in a little bit, you can take your knee, put it on the form. Don't slam it on there. Just place it on top till his knee, elbow hits the mat. Then I feed the hand in. Now I have my 2-on-1. Now that we've finished or figured out how to get the wrist, we want to figure out how to turn the person. The first turn we're gonna go into is a roll through tilt. Let's start out with how we want to control this arm. So first of all, think of this like a seatbelt. When you buckle a seatbelt, it buckles into the hip. So I'm taking one hand on the wrist, okay? Other hand is gonna go all 5 fingers over top of the elbow joint, and I'm gonna be pulling this in tight to his hip. The biggest mistake that happens when people do roll through tilts is their arm slides up to the armpit. You need to keep this hand down to the hip because you wanna control his hips. If you're too high up, his upper body will twist, but his hips will never come off the mat. So my opponent's back on the mat, and we're here. Now, from here, a lot of people show the tilt where you kind of fall to your back here and then pull. But I learned from Spencer Lee that you want to drive forwards first to make sure that you get them rolling. A wrestler with a wide base, it's going to be very hard to flip them over here. But if you take your feet and you run forwards first, it's much easier to get the turn. I'll scooch back a little bit, I just want to make sure I have enough space. So, number one, get the wrist, all 5 fingers in that elbow joint, and pull it tight and low across the hips. Tip number 2, we're running our feet forwards and then rolling. Now, how do we want to end up when we get in the tilt position? So, actually before that, let me break down even a little bit more on what the roll itself is gonna look like. So I have the arm here. I have all 5 fingers wrapped over the elbow joint. What I wanna do is I wanna put my elbow in the middle and my head in between his legs, okay? So my elbow joint is gonna go in the middle, my head's gonna go right where my elbow is. As I do that, I drive off my feet and then roll, and now watch my legs. My right leg is pointed to the ceiling, and I'm pulling him, and he's gonna land on this part of my leg, here. Now, once I'm here, my knee right here touches my elbow, and I elevate with my left leg to get the back points. Show you guys a couple more angles of that. Yeah, that's fine. So we're here, wrist, here, pull it tight and low around his hips. Another thing you're gonna notice is my shoulder positioning is not high. My right shoulder is low on his back. It's not up high. And I don't want this armpit coming up. It needs to stay low. Elbow joint in the middle, head in the middle, drive forwards, then roll. Now look at, he's gonna be caught on my leg. I pull, he lands right there. Elbow and knee touching, elevating, pulling in tight here. Once you have them on their back, if they turn into you, so turn into me this way, I'm gonna use, let him see this part. I'm gonna use the hands to push away. If he turns that way, I'm gonna actually pull. So my hands will either push or pull to get those back points. So again, he turns into me, I might push the arm that way. He turns away from me, I'm gonna pull the arm into me, make sure I get those back points. One more thing I wanna explain is with every tilt, you wanna end up being perpendicular, so in a X, right? I wanna end up not laying side by side to him. So I wanna show you this technique a couple different angles so you guys can really understand it. But I'm here, all 5 fingers locked here, shoulders low, elbow in the middle, head in the middle. I drive forwards on my toes, roll. He's landing right on this part of my leg, all right? Elbow, knee touching, and we're perpendicular here. My feet are not, we're not laying down like this. I'm underneath of them more, okay? This move also works from your feet if the person stands up, but the mechanics are all the same. Again, I wanna show you a couple more different angles. We're here, shoulder drops low on the lower back, elbow in the middle, head in the middle, drive on your toes, as he starts to roll, I'm stepping my leg through, and he's landing right in my pocket here, right on my quad, okay? If he turns this way, I pull. If he turns into me, I push. Now, another note I want to talk about with this move is people feel scared to do it. As long as you have this wrist with your right arm, you're not in danger. Don't roll. If I'm here and I feel like I'm getting defensively pinned, as long as I have this wrist, I can pull myself back on top. Now, if he is peeling this wrist free, so start peeling this wrist free, and you feel it breaking, do not go for the roll through tilt if you feel that right grip breaking. Now, if you can't get the roll through tilt and they're really resisting, we can actually bring them the opposite direction. So we'll say my partner's flat on their stomach. All right, we're here. We have the wrist in, tight and low. We're trying to roll through tilt. As I try to roll through tilt, they're gonna bring this knee up to resist it. So I'm here, I'm tucking my head, I'm trying to roll through tilt. Now make sure when you try this roll through tilt from flat that you're really giving a good effort, because you really want them to resist so that you can pull them back the opposite way easily. Now I'm here, I'm trying to tuck my head in my elbow, and I'm trying to roll. When I can get my elbow to connect to my knee, which is behind him, again, right now I'm straddling the opposite leg. When my elbow can connect to my knee, I can step my leg up and pull that leg on top of my leg. So I'm here, I'm trying to dig in and get my elbow to connect to my knee. Once that happens, I can come up like this. So I can shelf this leg up on my knee. Once it's shelved, I can pull back and get to my tilt position. Show you guys that one again. I'm trying to roll through tilt. He's resisting, his left leg is kind of, bring your left knee up. Yep, and I'm trying to roll. When my elbow connects to my knee, I can sit back and step my left leg up. Elbow's connected to knee. Now I can pull back and get the tilt. Show you guys a couple different angles of this. I'll scooch this way. That's good, lay flat. All right, I'm here. I'm trying to roll through tilt, and I'm just trying to drive my elbow to my own knee. Once my elbows hit my knee, I can take this leg and kind of shove it underneath his hip and step my opposite leg up. Then I pull back, get the tilt. One more just from the back side. So turn, face the other way. So I'm here. I'm straddling the opposite leg. I'm trying to roll through. He starts hipping down, trying to roll through. When my knee touches my elbow, I switch legs and I step the opposite leg up and get to my tilt position just like that. All right, now let's move on to the armbar tilt. The tilt is gonna consist of a wrist and the other hand having an armbar in, okay? So turn this way. Consists of a wrist and the other hand being in an armbar position. So you're gonna have to either get the armbar first or the wrist first, and I'm gonna show you some different ways that this might look like. First, we'll get the armbar first. A great way to get the armbar is with that head lever we learned earlier. So I'm riding here, I'm trying to pressure, he's resisting, I push his tricep up, head goes behind the armpit, hand drops down to the wrist, and I'm driving in and pulling here. Now, once I do that, my left hand is just gonna slide to an arm bar. Anytime I have an arm bar and the person's on their base, I like getting at least directly behind them, because the defense to an arm bar is punching up and over top of his head with his left hand, go ahead, and breaking free. So I need to use my body weight on the opposite side to make sure it doesn't punch free. Now, I like to see the elbow exposed. I like to have my forearm pinching his wrist to his hip, and I want to ride a short bar. I don't need this bar super far in. It's pretty short here, okay? Just your hands there, all right? Pinching tight, everything's tight here. If I don't pinch it tight, he can slip out this way. So we gotta pinch the forearm to his side, trapping his wrist. All right, now, once I'm here, I wanna just reach across and grab the wrist. Once I've grabbed the wrist, here's how we're gonna do the tilt. I'm gonna drive into him until his elbow hits the mat, or even his head hits the mat, and I'm going to pull him back into a tilt position. So I'm gonna drive forwards with my left leg directly behind him and my right leg underneath, and then I'm gonna pull him back into the tilt position here. Right knee's pointing this towards the ceiling. I'm not down, I'm pushing this up. Left leg is elevating, and I'm getting the back points right there. Now, if the person is resisting a lot, scooch back a little bit more. What I've seen Spencer do, all right, we're here. We've scooped it, we've gotten the wrist, is he'll even dig both feet underneath, so really resist. He'll even throw like his right leg underneath. So come up real quick. He'll have his right leg underneath, driving with both feet as hard as possible to get them to turn over. So here, here, all right? Both feet really driving forwards right when he's collapsed on that shoulder. I can just drive up into the tilt position here. Now, another great way to get the arm bar is with a leg in. So if I throw a leg in, I like doing a short boot, so I don't like throwing the leg all the way in. I like keeping it, staying on my toe here. I'm gonna reach in underneath like I'm going for a guillotine. So I'm riding cross body, left arm reaches underneath, right arm grabs over top, and I lock all fingers together. Then I'm gonna pull the arm up, and then I'm gonna pull my arm through and get the arm bar. Once I'm here, I can reach underneath and get the wrist. Now I've got my arm bar tilt. Another thing is, I said expose the elbow. I'm putting my bicep on the back of his forearm as I drive forwards, kind of driving that pressure into him as I pull back and get the tilt. Show you guys that one more time with the leg in. Let's turn this way. Okay, I have a short boot. Okay, I'm leaning over top, palm facing down, other palm facing down. Learn that from Ridge Lovett. Pulls it in, punches this elbow deep, elbow pinches to the side, and I start dropping, looking for the wrist. Once I have the wrist, I run forwards to his shoulder, then pull back into the tilt position. Another thing, one little more detail, as I'm pulling this up, I can bring my elbow into his back and use the elbow to pry this arm up just a little bit more. So punch down a little bit with that. So if he's punching down, I can use my elbow in his back to pry it up before I make that switch, okay? Now, if we're getting the wrist first, so, you know, we could use any of the techniques we used earlier, right? Like an arm chop. We get the wrist first. Here's how we can get the arm bar. Actually, before that, I actually missed one more. So one other way I can get the wrist from their base if I have the arm bar first, okay? I have the arm bar first. They're gonna be taking their hand and kind of putting it behind. So actually, let's turn this way. So he doesn't want me to grab it. So I can use my left knee to start pushing into his arm and pushing it forwards. So I can use that left knee to push it forward so that I can reach the bar. One more time, let's circle a little bit more this way, like right there. I'm here. It might not be that far up, but even if it's there, I can't reach it. So use that opposite knee, that left knee, to jam it forwards. Then once you've got the wrist, hop sides, drive forwards, and tilt back. All right, now, if we get the wrist first, how can we get this arm bar, right? So if I have the wrist, my favorite way to do it is I'm here, I hop sides, and I push this arm up. So I'm wrestling here, I've got the tilt position. I'm going to, actually with both arms, pull up like this and lean to the opposite side. Once I've done that, the left hand will shoot through, and now I've got my arm bar. Wrist position, and I can go to my tilt. One more time, I've got the wrist first. I'm gonna hop sides with both hands, pull up for that little space right here, and then punch that hand through. Doesn't have to be very deep arm bar. You know, you could just have a little shallow, watch. Almost turn this way, a Look at how shallow. It doesn't have to be super, super deep. It can be that shallow, all right? Then I can drive forwards over the shoulder, pull back to the tilt position. One other way we can get this tilt, or this arm bar once we have the wrist, is by doing the roll through tilt first. So if I go for the roll through tilt and they belly out, I can stay on my back and push his arm upwards just like we did to sneak an arm bar in. So I'm here, everything's tight, elbow in the center, head in the center. I start rolling. Now, as he goes to belly out, I'm gonna pull this up just like we did and sneak the arm bar in. So I tried the roll through. As he's bellying out, I'm just pushing it. I'll stay on my side for a second while I sneak the arm bar in, and then I'll come back up to my base, left leg in between, drive forwards, pull back to the tilt position. So even if you know, that's why I like the roll through tilt, because even if you miss it, you can slip that arm bar right in. One more time with that. So I've got this position here. I go for the tilt. As I go to tilt, he starts bellying out. I'm just gonna stay on my side and just let his arm rotate like this. Once there's space right in here, I jam the arm bar in and pull myself back on top, and then I can tilt and get the actual back points. Jam up, here. Sorry, I'm skipping around so much, but I actually have one more way to get the arm bar in, or to get the wrist once we have the arm bar. So my partner's flat in his stomach. So if my partner's flat in his stomach and I get an arm bar, okay, I can get a wrist from here, but here's how I wanna do it. They're flat in their stomach. My hand's gonna come through this space up high. Then I can kind of drive forwards and slide this hand down to the wrist. So I can slide it down and collect the wrist there. But if I just try to reach directly underneath his stomach, there's no space there. There's space up here. It's similar to a gut wrench where you go, you essentially slide your hand up high, lock, and then slide down. So for here, I have the arm bar. I want to get his wrist to tilt him. My hand's gonna come up high here, all right, and then I'll start sliding it down, maybe driving my knee underneath of him to get that wrist. Once I have the wrist, I can tilt. So again, another way, if you get the arm bar first, then we can go to the wrist after, okay? Now, the last technique we're gonna talk about is the 2-on-1 or cheap tilt. My partner's down on his base. The main difference is the way I'm gonna grab the arm. So I have the wrist. Instead of going on the outside like this, my hand's gonna go underneath and go right at the elbow joint. So I have two hands on the inside. From here, I'm pulling the arm in tight and low on his hip. You wanna control the hip. If the hand slides up here, you don't have any control. Pull it tight and low on the hip. Now my head's gonna look across his back towards where his hand is. My left knee's gonna go up into his chest, kind of pinching that arm in tight. Now I'm gonna pull him back into my lap. So pull him right on top of me here, into the tilt position, left knee facing the ceiling, right leg elevating. Very similar to the other technique. From here, I'd pull him this way. If he turned into me, I could push. So I could kind of push and pull. I'll show you guys real quick. If he turns away, I'll pull this up into me. If he turns into me, I could push away. Look at my left hand, I'll push away so that he stays on his back and doesn't come into me. Show you guys that one more time. For this one, I actually don't pressure in as much as the other tilts. So for this one, I don't really drive forwards as much. Hand goes on the inside, I pull it in tight. Shin goes on their leg, so my shin just goes right on top of their quad, knees up in their stomach. I'm just gonna pull them straight back onto my lap, elevate the bottom foot here, get the back points. Now, if he's resisting, I can actually take him two other directions. So if I'm here and I'm trying to tilt him this way, he's gonna lean his hips that way. So I'm pulling him, I'm trying to tilt him. All I'm gonna do is throw my other knee onto this hip. So I'm gonna circle to the other side, okay? So I'm here, I'm trying to tilt him here. I'm gonna circle to the other side. A key thing with this, have space here, because I'm gonna jack him up on top of me. So I'm trying to tilt here, switch sides, and I'm gonna pull him into my lap here. Boom. Now from here, my hands are like a steering wheel where I can rotate him either direction. I can tilt him here, or look at my hands, I rotate him to the opposite side. So I can tilt him either direction. You can do this, go again. Yeah, that's fine. I can do this pulling him straight back as well. It really doesn't matter too much. I'm essentially pulling him into a crab ride position. He's resisting. I'm just coming behind him, getting some space here and jacking him up on top of me into the crab ride position. From here, your hand becomes a steering wheel. You can use your knees too and just tilt him into the position, bottom leg elevates, or bottom knee up, top leg elevating here. Show you guys a couple different angles of that. So face that way. I'm trying to tilt here, trying to pull him. It's not working. My knees just shift to the opposite side, pull him on top of me. And again, I can tilt here, or I can bring him back and tilt the opposite direction, just like that. All right, that's all I got in the tilt series. Don't forget to leave a comment below on what you guys want to see next, and hope to see you guys in the next video.